Welcome to another stimulating tutorial video by Sully Man. No, just kidding. Anyways, yeah, today we're going to step away from power training and I'm going to hop into the mesh tool, and I'm just going to kind of show you some advanced techniques with this, as well as some tips to kind of getting the best out of your mesh tool while you're working. So let's get started. I'm going to teach you guys how to make a piece of fruit. This is going to involve a few things besides mesh tool. You're going to be kind of messing with blending modes or using color in a specific way. But yeah, let's get started. So I figured, cherries are pretty simple, oranges are pretty simple. I figured I was just going to settle on a strawberry. So I just kind of Google search fruit in Google. This is the strawberry. I'm going to copy the image, head over to Illustrator. I'm going to paste that in. Just kind of resize it for my document. And there's my strawberry. And what I like to do is kind of start to get my colors down. So what I'm going to do is head over to my Swatches panel. I'm going to select all unused. I'm going to dump them. And you're going to have to do it twice because it leaves over some leftovers. Black and white I'll keep. I'm just going to get rid of this one. Hit the trash can. And there we go. I got black and white, which are pretty standard for most stuff. I'm going to go ahead and, with my color picker tool, I can't pronounce it, kind of pick out, that's the base red. I'm going to get a shadow red. Let's drag and drop that. Highlight white we already have. But you can grab like up here, you can see the red kind of starts to head more into yellow. Once red maxes out, in its highlight, it starts heading towards a lighter color, which is yellow into white. Let's go ahead and grab this like shadow green. I like this one a little better. And then our normal green. No, that's a highlight green. Let's grab this as the normal green. Let's see here. And then our seeds. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on a seed. This one's in the shadow, so let's grab some shadow seed. And then our in-light seed, and then the white's the highlight. So I'm gonna, on each of these, I'm gonna hit global. And what global is gonna do is global is gonna make these, so if I change the color in the future, it automatically updates the artwork that has that color applied to it as the new color. So I'm just gonna kind of run through here and globalize each one of these colors. Even the black and white, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And then again, if you really wanna kind of get detailed, you can change the swatch name if you want that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit these all as globals. So I got them all set up. So I pretty much grabbed everything I needed color-wise through here. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go ahead and turn it into a template. So what template's going to do is going to lock the layer and drop the opacity, so it's easier to kind of see what's going on when you're tracing. So we're going to go ahead and hit template. I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to head right to my pen tool. I'm going to kind of get this set up. Doesn't really matter right now. I just kind of want to see. I'm going to hit black, and you can turn it into a stroke. And I'll show you two techniques. Let's go ahead and close the color panel. I'm going to start just kind of tracing the shape out. And for video's sake, I'm not going to be super detailed on this. This is something, it's kind of up to the artist themselves. You can go and add these bumps and stuff like that, which I advise. You're only going to get better the more you do this stuff. But take it, I've been doing this a very long time, so pen tool technique is pretty quick with me. So the more you do it, the better you're going to get. Just kind of run through here. So you have this technique where you just have a stroke applied so you can kind of see where you're heading. Or say you had this going on, you had a fill. If you hover above this, you'll see that it says Control-click to toggle view mode, and what that'll do is create an outline mode where you're just seeing the actual path without any of the color information. So some people kind of get, like, how do I turn my color back? Well, just look into your layer panel and check the eyeball icon. This might be active where it's just outline. You can see the eye has just become the outline of the eye. So Control, or I believe it's Apple, I'm not sure, don't remember, probably Control on an Apple. But anyways, that's what you can do. So there's that shape. Now, I'm doing this to kind of show you the wrong way to go about doing this. So we're on the mesh tool. I'm going to go ahead and apply red. So let's go ahead and now let's grab our mesh tool and let's activate. And what this is going to do is you're basically turning this into a 3D plane. If you've ever seen 3D software, there's what they call polygons, and any change in direction of a plane, like on the surface, coincides with its own separate plane. So this is kind of what this is doing. So I'm going to go ahead and click in the center. And you can see now what it's done, it's created 4 kind of separate planes. And these paths that you see, this grid, are how the plane raises across the surface. And what it's doing, it's kind of using AI to figure out, hey, well, it might look like this. And you can click anywhere and keep adding planes. And that's cool and all, but what's really happening, we're not getting the shape that we want. You know, this is the strawberry is not bending, dipping in like this. It's really not. It's really just kind of like a cone shape. And I just wanted to show you this because this is kind of the wrong way to do it. So you can click on these and then actually apply colors to them, and that's kind of the basis of the mesh tool, is going in. Just like on these edges, you can. Let's just grab our direct selection tool now to grab these areas. I'm going to kind of shift and highlight all these nodes on the shadow side, and then apply that shadow color. You can see we're starting to build a strawberry, but this is the wrong way to go about it. The right way you really want to go about it, so you can customize the whole thing. Let's get rid of the shape. Oops, I keep forgetting that it's just going to kind of incrementally, is either use a circle or a square. I'm going to go ahead and drop a circle in here, start from the center. You can do the same thing I showed you. You can use the stroke, but I'm going to go ahead and use the fill for now since we're using the mesh tool. And in the center, I'm just going to drop this in. And the beauty is now we can go in with these nodes, turn this into outline mode, and now we can start building the shape properly. So I'm going to get the top and the bottom first. So these are the tops and the bottoms, and now you're with this middle line, you can see it's a nice smooth. It doesn't have wiggles going on everywhere. Now you can actually pretend that you're in a 3D piece of software and mimic the surface. This kind of bulges out here, so that's what I'm going to mimic. I'm going to mimic the bulge here. So there's that. Now let's just get this edge. I'm going to go down to just about in the center, that half of that piece. I'm going to get these halves placed where I want them. And you'll see it's automatically creating the bend that rolls around. So we just got to get this placed properly. So you're going to do some tweaks along the way, and that's kind of the basis of having a real nice output for this mesh tool. So you can kind of bend these things around, and more often than not, you're just going to want to get it close enough to the artwork. Again, it's your own artwork. You kind of want to create it like the photographer. I looked up. This is for reuse, total reuse, I believe. Or with modification, and we're actually modifying it. We're turning it into our own original piece of artwork. We're just using this as the basis. But you can see what I'm doing. I'm just now grabbing, once I have my the 2 half points or center points for this fruit, I'm just going in and tweaking the shape. And now you can see I have this nice grid that's mimicking the shape of the strawberry. And I'm going in with these handles and bending them out and getting it to look the way I want it to. So let's go ahead and kind of finish this up. Let's tweak this a little bit, stretch them down. Maybe I can pop this down further. And just notice with each node it has its own handles. Some have more than others because this has multiple intersecting points or paths. So now that we have that, let's go ahead and turn it on. Now let's click the center point, and I'm going to add a highlight. And you can see automatically we started with the shadow color. I just tapped the highlight where I wanted to highlight. But let's go ahead and undo that. Go back to our mesh tool, and now we can add another point. So let's add a point there. Now we just got to go in and keep tweaking, but keep in mind the 3D shape. So I'm going to bend that down, maybe stretch that, move it in here a little bit, move that out a little bit, stretch that out, get this back going, bend this out so it follows the way I want it to. Stretch this out a little bit, maybe pull this in, get it a little smoother in the shape. Okay, cool. So that's another little point. Let's add one more. I'm going to add one here. So basically, if you're on a line, all it's going to do is add a vertical. Or if you're on the vertical, it'll add a horizontal. So just keep that in mind as you're building it. So I'm going to click that. And we'll go ahead with our direct select tool and start tweaking the anchor points handles to get the shape that we want. We're keeping in mind this is a 3D shape. These are all planes. This is one separate plane facing one way. This one's facing another. So forth, so on, as you're running through this artwork. So pretty cool. So this is my highlight zone. So I'm going to go ahead and knock these two with a highlight. Yeah, maybe these two. Let's go ahead and do that. Pretty cool. You're already seeing the 3D shape. And that's really the gist of it. So let's go ahead and here, I'm going to do a little trick. It's called rim lighting. I'm going to make sure this is shadow, and then these three right here, let's add, and I'm going to reference the artwork. You can see, let's turn it off template, that there's this kind of off gray color. You know what? I'm going to deselect what I have selected. I'm going to color pick that. See, it's like I'm going to color pick it. You can see it's kind of heading towards gray. It's not even this saturated, but it's like a gray red. So I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to throw that over here as our rim light color. So let's get back to that. Let's get our direct select tool and grab this edge here. And we'll apply that rim light to it. So now you're really starting to see a beautiful 3D shape. And that's why you want to start with a very simple rudimentary shape, like a square or a circle. Apply the mesh, and then start adding your nodes, because it just gets crazy and you're doing all these corrections. You end up wasting more time. It seems like you're doing a lot more work this way when you're really not. You're actually saving yourself time in the end run. But yeah, so we can turn it into outline mode and further tweak if we wanted to. I'm going to lock this up, keep it out of template mode, and again, we can go back in and tweak these if we wanted to. Raise this up, this whole section if we wanted to. Okay, so, and that's pretty much what that is. And we can go in further, and I'll show you how to add in all these nice little highlights. But right now I'm going to lock that layer, and let's do another one. Let's do the seed this time. So let's do the circle. This is kind of simple. I'm just going to throw this circle in with my convert anchor point tool. I'm just going to grab this and just kind of cone it out a little bit, maybe drop it down using the space bar. So let's take a look. This is pretty simple. We might not even need to use the mesh tool on this thing. We could just go, let's start with the shadow and apply a gradient. So let's apply our gradient. And come over here, apply our gradient, tap the shadow color for the shadow, highlight for the highlight color. Let's go ahead and do it radial because it's going to be a circle. Now with our gradient tool, I hit G, the shortcut to selecting that, and then we can actually size it up and bend the shape. Let's go ahead and size it up just a little bit more. We can angle it if we want, and maybe let's drop some white in so we have that nice little intense highlight. Let's go ahead and put that over there. We'll go like that. And voila, there's our seed. So with using the gradient, that's pretty much done. So you can kind of, what I'm doing is clicking the object, and I hold Alt as I click and drag, and I can start placing seeds everywhere. And now popping these in where I see fit. So let's go ahead and turn on our shape. So we're starting to build a strawberry here. It's looking pretty good. So what I'm going to do at this point, I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to get all this work done. Okay, better yet, this is going to be a quick tutorial to kind of show you a technique which you can already see that I've started. And basically what I did was, with the seeds that I created, the original one that I just showed you, I dragged and dropped it into the symbols panel. And what it does is it creates a symbol. So I'm going to go ahead and delete it. Just kind of show you what I did. Let's see here. That's fine. So you know what? I'm just going to leave it in there. We'll go ahead and drag and drop it. And basically what I did, I created a graphic. You can label it if you want, seed. And then it's going to create this symbol. So I'm going to go ahead and turn those off. I create a new layer. I'm going to turn it out of outline mode. And with the symbol sprayer brush, now you can kind of spray these things down. So I'm going to double click. At default, it's set to average. In the spin, we'll deal with that later. But right now, let's just go ahead and start popping some seeds in. But you can see with the strawberry, it almost seems like it's designed to separate them almost an even amount. So let's see here, symbol density, intensity. We'll go like 2. Let's give that a go and see. So And we'll just lay them in. And this is what the symbol sprayer is all about. And then we can go back in and change the way it actually works. So we can shift things around, scrunch, size, spinner. So let's tap the spinner for now. You can kind of spin some of these guys. And get them to go in the direction you want them to go. And this is what I advise to kind of do, is save some time, but you can go the other way, the manual way of doing things. So we're going to kind of tilt these guys this way. Let's go ahead and maybe do some size. Oop, that's too big. Let's undo that. Let's see, we don't want stainer, scruncher. Yeah, there, that's probably. Now we can kind of pull these down if we want. Once we have that, and what you can see here is we kind of got it, looks pretty good. Let me go ahead and turn that out on mode. They're spacing it out, and then you can basically go in. Let's see here. Let me get out of isolation mode. It's basically expand these. Object expand. Hit OK. And now you have those symbols ungroup, and then you can kind of pop them in. Move them around, space them, kind of how that strawberry had them. This is just kind of a quick way to kind of get these laid out, heading in a direction with rotation and all that fantastic stuff quick. So let's get rid of some of this stuff here. These guys we'll just push in from the edge. Get rid of these guys. Move him in here, there. Not bad, not bad. Maybe turn him a little bit. So there they are, and that's the quick technique. So just create the actual artwork like we did with the gradient, drop it in as a symbol, and then use your symbol sprayer to get them down, and then use the sub tools for that symbol sprayer to kind of tweak them out. So there, now you got your seeds in. So let's see what else we're going to work on. I'm going to go ahead and turn these off. So we have these little highlights here, and I can kind of show you a cool little technique for those. And that's going to be with a brush. So let's go ahead and let's get working on that. So what I'm going to do here is with black, because I want this visible, I'm going to create, and we don't want a gradient, let's start with the fill. I'm going to select my black, and I want to kind of size this brush to the size of what I'm working with here. So I'm going to size this down, say the dot's about that big. And don't worry about the shape, just start with a circle. I'm copy and I pasted in back, and I'm going to keep it black, but this I'm going to head over to my transparency panel and knock that thing all the way down to 0. And then I'm going to select them both, object, blend, and I'm going to make a blend. And then I'm going to go object, blend, blending options. I don't want smooth color. I'm actually going to do specified steps. I'm going to knock in 50. That seems to be the most consistent, smooth looking. Without too many steps. The more steps, the harder it is on your system. I find 50 kind of works well with mine. Mine's a fairly moderate, not super powered machine, but it can handle some stuff. So I'm going to hit OK. And with that, I'm actually going to head over to the brushes now, and these are the default brushes. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stretch this thing out like a brush. I can go pretty thin if I want. So I'm going to go ahead and do it, and I'm going to make it an art brush. Hit OK. And the arc brush is this new brush. It's dialog. You can switch the direction, which doesn't matter because it's basically the same from either direction. And then the colorization method, I want to add tints. So it's just going to basically pick up colors. I'm just going to delete, and you can see it's created it here. So now I have a new brush. I'm going to go ahead and turn on those 2 layers. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and lock that. I'm going to duplicate this layer. And then I'm going to drag the artwork out so I have some reference to the side. So what I'm noticing is the seeds are kind of pushed into the surface, and then on the where the light's coming from, the surface that is directly at it is where that highlight is. So you can see it's on the right side here, whereas it starts to over here head over to the left. So we'll keep that in mind, and we'll just pretend these are pushed into the surface. I'm going to activate my brush tool. I'm going to grab white as my color, and now with this brush, I'm going to start knocking in around some of these areas. Keeping the direction of light, it's off to the left over here. And that's what I'm going to do. So over here, maybe a little closer on the right side. Up here, here. Let's go down here. Further down, it's kind of pushing down. So this is where these are going to be. So let's keep knocking in these. Same on this side. Down over here. Probably down here as well. There. This one's off. It's going to be tiny there. So again, we can change brush size too once we're over here. Get real small. Edge these out. Maybe add a couple if you want. You know, just get pretty crazy with this stuff. So, and as I get more towards the light source, it's going to start changing direction a little bit. Even adding double highlights sometimes. That's fine. So we'll knock that in here. Keep moving along with this. Okay, cool. It's starting to look pretty good. Now, to get the dropped, sunk-in effect, let's take a look. You can see it's almost like a small little shadow around each one of these seeds. So what we can do is, let's go ahead and duplicate all these seeds. I'm going to further expand them. Actually, let me try something real quick. I'm going to go ahead and object, oops, ungroup. Okay, object expand. There we go. Now we got the shape. So yeah, I can go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and expand all these guys again. Minus this guy, because he's going to start to expand gradient-wise, and we don't want that. I'm going to hit expand. We should get the shape now. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Object, Path, Offset the path, because basically what I'm going to do is reset this path by setting the offset to 0, which means it's doing nothing, but it's actually going to offset. I'm going to cut that out, and you can see it's created all these seeds. Go ahead and delete that layer. I'm going to hit F for the paths. Let's see here, and now we should be able to do a solid color. Let's go to path. Now we're going to offset the path, and this time we're going to plug in something, and we want it to, let's say, 0.5. Let's hit preview, see the distance. That distance is stretching away from the seed. That's way too much, so let's add a 0 there. That's a little better. Let's go ahead and maybe, let's pop in the 9. That's pretty good. We'll hit OK. And we're basically going to be doing the same technique. Let's do that one more time. Object path, offset the path. Actually, you know what? Sorry, I'm messing up here, guys. I'm going to keep these selected. I'm actually going to hit copy. I'm going to go object path, offset the path. We'll hit 9. Now with these guys selected, I'm going to cut them. I'm going to group these guys now. So they're nice and grouped together. Under these guys, I'm going to hit Control B to paste below. Do that same technique. Hit the 0. Now what you can do is do the blend that you were doing before. Object, blend, and then once you have the blend, do the specified steps. You can do, let's go 50 again. Preview. That's pretty good. And now that you have that blend, you can use a blend mode, hit multiply, and it will affect the color below it. Another way of doing this, instead of the pain in the ass way I just showed you, is let's go ahead and grab these again. We'll hit copy, paste in place, or duplicate the layer. Object expand. Now we have it expanded. Let's go ahead and knock it into a flat color. We'll go to path, offset the path. It's going to keep the previous setting that we had. I'm going to go ahead and cut them, because if you see, when I cut them away, the originals are still there. I don't want duplicate nodes. It just makes the file heavier. I'm going to paste them back in, and then we can use the gradient technique to do that too. So let's go ahead and apply a gradient. I'm going to turn the seeds off so you can see what's going on. Let's apply the gradient, which is the seed gradient. But we're going to change it this time. We're going to go ahead and hit black and make this black. But for this one, we're going to knock the opacity all the way down. let's change it so it's heading to the outside. And maybe push this just a little bit away, maybe this a little further. Okay, and then we can change the blending mode. So that when the blending mode, I'm going to hit multiply, and you'll see in further videos, it adds that, it treats, basically, it's removing any whites, and there are whites the way these swatches are applied. They're probably CMYK. If they're RGB, it probably would have been fine, but anyways, I'll discuss that in a later video, but we're going to hit multiply, and then go back to our gradient, tweak this maybe a little bit more, soften it up, and get it away from the edges a little bit more so it doesn't look like an abrupt end. So that's not bad, and you can see even with the highlights we spaced it out just about right. So let's turn the seeds back on. Now you can see it's starting to look like those seeds are, you know, mushed into the surface. So I can grab these things and and position them around. You know, even like with this seed, if I didn't like it, I can grab this guy, move him over and duplicate him, rotate him. You know, it's a quick way to get this stuff done. Now, like with these seeds over here, these guys are actually in the dark a little bit. So I'm going to grab these seeds that are in the dark. Another cool part is head over to live color, and with these guys, I can knock them down. Whoops. Hit cancel. That's right. They're all global. I should set these as their own colors. Let me go ahead and grab that. Let's go ahead and do this one more time. We're going to expand these guys. Let's cut them out. Drop them in their own layer. Object expand, and then we should have the gradient show up. Now that we have the gradient showing up, we can apply some new colors to it. So I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to grab some random. Let's start with blues. You know what? No, let's mimic them. We're going to go ahead and mimic them. I'm going to kind of keep similar to these colors here. So there's a little bit darker, maybe a little bit darker. We'll head over to yellow. Kind of give it that shadow look. So let's go ahead and reselect them again. Head into our gradient. Whoops, gradient. Let's knock the highlight off so that it's not reaching. And let's apply some more of a shadowed look to these guys to further knock them guys back. So we're starting to stretch around. So also here you can see that there is bounce light or rim light on the right side. We can probably add some on the right side. Let's go ahead and head back over to our mesh. Let's grab the mesh tool, and on this side let's add white. So now let's turn these off, and you can still see, you know, it's the edge kind of disappears. So you can change the color if you want. Let's go ahead and undo that. And I just want to hit home that this is, you know, that's what's so great about this. It's super editable. So let's go in here, let's blue it up a little bit, which should make that look fine and distinguishable from that background. So there is that. And since this is a mesh tool tutorial, let's get back to doing that. So I'm going to grab a circle, drop it in. I'm going to go ahead and start with my shadow green. Let's apply the mesh tool. And let's get to work. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this because we're going to be using that shape again. Let's go ahead and drag out these middle points to where we want them. This will be down at the bottom. Just keep in mind what is what. So this is supposed to be at the bottom. Again, I should have positioned this, but I'm just showing you how editable this stuff is. So I'm going to turn it into outline mode and really kind of just remember that this plane right here is the plane that's running across this leaf. So let's kind of straighten this stuff out. This probably pinches up towards the back. Let's get this going right here. And now let's bring these guys down to finish up the shape. So let's smooth this out, knock this down. And again, it's our artwork, so we can do whatever we want, make it look however we want. So, you know what, I'm going to stretch that back out, head over here, give it a nice halfway point, drop that down, bring this over here, and I'm going to ignore that stuff over there for now. basically I'm just building out the planes for this shape. And you can see how this is kind of bending out and twisting. I probably don't want too much of that, so I'm going to pull that in, push that back out. So maybe not. Let's go ahead and stretch that back a little bit. I'm going to go over here, knock this in, and that'll give it a cool kind of dip. And let's add some more vertical bars to that. Kind of really nail home the leaf shape, and you can see it just kind of drew it out like you would when you were a kid, how you would draw a leaf. So that's kind of basically it there. So on this edge, you know what? I'm going to also add a horizontal line to kind of have a nice little edge over here that runs across, so I can color that. So I'm going to grab these edges. Actually, I'm going to let's just grab a section like that. Deselect. Grab this guy, this guy, this guy, this one here, and that one there. Let's apply the highlight color to that. So that's kind of looking okay. Let me take a look at the reference, zoom out. It's a finer edge. So let's go back into outline mode. And you know what? I think I'm just going to go ahead and keep that as a cutoff point. Let's drop that back down. Put it back in shadow mode. Now we just have that nice faint edge. That looks a lot better. So with this center line, if I wanted to, I could go in and change the color. Drop it down even further into the shadow. So there's one leaf done. So we can do the same thing here. Let's go ahead and add a new layer. So these shapes are going to start to get a little more complex. So I'm going to stretch this out, apply the shadow color. Let's hit our mesh tool in the center. Head into outline mode and build this bottom plane. So we just got to remember this side of the leaf is what we're worrying about, not over here. So there's that piece. We'll drop this down to kind of create our middle line. Let's move this up. Stretch this back. Stretch this out a little bit. Well, that's our center line. I stretched the wrong one out. So again, and this is our artwork, so I'm going to ignore how that tip's kind of moving. And I'm going to create my own little leaf shape, because that's the whole point. It's making it your own. For the most part. So, let's go ahead and pinch that just a little bit. Okay, cool. So now we have that. We're going to do the same thing. I'm going to have this top edge my highlight. And that didn't do all too much. So there we go. There we go. Let's take a look. So there's some highlight dipping in over here. So what I can do is, with my mesh tool, let's see, with it active, I'm just going to go ahead and punch in a spot right there. And it's going to carry over the color that I have active. So there, that looks pretty good. And then we can work on the back side of it. So I'm going to create a new layer that's below it. Slap in the same thing. Let's mesh them out. And that one's in the highlight. So I'm going to keep it the highlight color. And then I'm going to stretch this out to kind of match up. Let's see here. This is my middle line. So let's drop this down first and then bring our middle line over. And then stretch this in. Pull him in, pull that in. Let's take a look, and then I'm going to knock some white into that. Just kind of, you know what? Maybe not white. I'm going to mesh tool. Let's go ahead and let's highlight it up. Head a little more towards yellow, and we'll knock that yellow in one more time there, and maybe just a little bit more of that dark stuff there. Pretty good as a leaf. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to group them together. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and finish up all these leaves. So I got a couple done, and I figured I'd show you another little technique that you can use, but just by using the warp and some of the stuff that you've already created. So let's go ahead and grab this one. I'll hit copy. I'm going to paste it. And then what I'm just going to do is use my object, envelope, distort, and then we're going to use a mesh to warp. I'm going to do 2 and 2, keep it simple. And then with this, you can basically, let's get our direct select tool, grab these areas and just start bending like we've been doing with the mesh tool, the actual artwork. And we could basically create a new leaf from that. Just by tweaking this around and messing with that. It's just, again, it's, you want it custom and cool and all that good stuff, but at the same time you want to save time. So there's that one. Let's go ahead and we can paste in that again. This time I'll use the traditional warp object, envelope distort, make with warp, and that's fine. I'm going to just add an arc to it. I can drop that in like that, turn it a little bit, add it over there. And that looks pretty good. I mean, we're mimicking the artwork the best we can. I'm not too keen on going crazy just for video purpose. I know we're running pretty long here. We'll just kind of drag and drop that in. Maybe flip it. Okay, drop it to the back. And I'm going to group all those guys together. So with the mesh tool, we created some leaves. There's always other techniques you can use to do that. I noticed that I forgot to add this kind of highlight color to the strawberry, so I'm going to go ahead and unlock that layer. And I'm going to grab up here and up here, and I'm going to add that highlight color. And that's a little more convincing. So let's see here. Now with the seeds, I'm pretty happy with the way they're looking, these ones here. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit Object Expand one more time so I can get the gradients to show up. Now I'm going to go to Live Color. I'm going to brighten them up. Bugging me a little bit, so saturate them, maybe head a little more towards yellow. Okay, hit OK, that's a little better. So now it's really kind of giving it some dimension, and again, there's some textures and stuff that you can apply, but for the most part, we're pretty much done. We can call it quits here. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the original, and this is what we're left with. A nice looking strawberry. You can always add the drop shadow later, but yeah, you got pretty much a strawberry ready to go. Check the bottom link. I'm going to go ahead and add this into the Sellify store, not as something you can purchase. It probably will show a price, but if you just share on any of your networks, you can get it for free. So I'll have this, just check out the Sellify link in the description for this video. I want to thank you guys for watching. And always, as usual, like, share, comment. I like the interaction. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. And then these are different types of heads. These, you have the rattler head. This is kind of like a tree snake. A different angle mugshot, which you can kind of see here on this guy, and like a python boa constrictor head here. And then you can kind of mix and match heads. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the background and kind of show you the whole deal here. So basically, let's go ahead and grab this guy.